Peace, 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 peace. It's your sister Real coming to you from Mawa Lisa Temple, beautiful upstate New York, Hudson Valley. And I am excited for this episode of the Healing Chambers. We are talking about something I love, music and healing. And who better to have but Kamau The Chakra DJ in the building to tell us a little bit more about what he does, how he has used music to help not only himself, but those that he loves and those that he serves. So as you know, in the Healing Chambers, we don't diagnose or treat anything, but we do share with you our experiences and what we've used to help us upon our healing and spiritual journey. And music is definitely one of those things. It's a big part of my life. It's a big part of his life. So I'm not going to keep on talking to you guys because you know me. I want you to get to know this beautiful young man, multi-talented, going to talk to us, tell us all about himself. So please, sir, Kamau The Chakra DJ, introduce yourself and tell us all about you, brother.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Mother. And hopefully I'm not crossing the professional lines of addressing you as who you are, my divine mother. But I, as we just were talking, go by several identities, several names. But when I do my my duty or the spiritually divine duty that was assigned to me, I identify as Kamau The Chakra DJ. Again, that's a loaded question, and I never know how much to give anyone. You know, it's kind of like if you have a buffet table of different servings, and I'm like grandma. You know, you just put too much on the plate.
Well, let me make it easier for you. So, what is it that you do right now? What service do you offer to our community?
So for the community, for those within the common forms of unity, what I provide is an eclectic yet innovative form of sound healing through the almost modern but slightly antiquitous style of DJing. And what it is that I've done is I've study different elements such as entrainment, the history of music itself, and the effect of music, the neurological effects that is caused or help that music helps with, such as like your patients or individuals that I don't want to say suffer, but are born under the condition of Alzheimer's, or not Alzheimer's, but autism, and have eventually, deduced down to Alzheimer's. And what it is I do is I exercise music purposefully, because it's a lot of on the airwaves nowadays. It's a lot of music that doesn't serve a proper purpose. And I've had a lot of inspirations, experiences that led me to where it is I am and what it is I do. And I just am at full service for anybody that calls to me.
Well, that's wonderful. You know, I've experienced some of your music before, and I love to talk about that. But first, let me just ask, your journey into music, where did that begin?
Oh, well, I can definitely say it began initially from sitting in front of my father's record player and playing old records like Yellow Jackets, Miles Davis, Boz Scaggs. I could name it all. And then I began to see, like, just even at a younger age, although not being able to like identify like I can now, as far as that being a genetic pattern of basically following into his footsteps with my taste of music, listening to certain artists such as A Tribe Called Quest, Jay Dilla. So for me, it began there, but it's different levels and processes of evolution. And I could say the most impacting or impactful would have been when I got out of the military and I was dealing with depression and anxiety. I had a lot going on at that time. I had lost my mother about a year afterwards, but I didn't really have an opportunity to mourn her loss, or now that I identify as her expansion, because we don't ever really lose anyone when we lose this. When they leave this realm, they just expand into a greater essence of greatness. But again, being of a different mindset, then I didn't understand that, and I didn't have a way to cope with that. And like I said, I was only still somewhat fresh out of the military. I do want to also sidetrack. It's interesting that bells are playing right now. I don't know if you can hear it in my background, but it's actually really soothing. So it's just funny how that works, because I was in my head, and I think I was telling you before, how I'm always, I guess, kind of, and it's all a form of energy, but we call it nervousness, but it's just a bunch of energy as far as being excited and wanting to be a perfectionist and wanting to just make sure you get the right message out. And so I have this music that's actually doing this work for me. So it just reminds me how I'm really just a vessel. I'm just a vessel to what it is. You can call me a DJ, or you can address me how I like to. I identify myself as a shamanic melody mystic. But yeah, I mean, we're all just vessels. It's not to go too much on a tangent, but we're all really just vessels of these simple universal laws. Everything else is all regulations and codes and whatnot, but if we just know the basic laws. And so one of the laws that I attach to is vibration. And once you get your foot in the doorway with one law, you can master all the others. You understand duality, the basic male female principle, how that all exists, mentalism, getting your mind together. And then when you study the music that you may have either been raised up on, or even challenge yourself, and that's what I like to challenge people, is to turn off the airwaves and tune into something else, tune into a different channel. Because those simple words like channeling, being of sound mind, everything equates to the human body, and from the human body equates to what's around us. And that's reflecting on, once again, another law, the whole as above, so below correspondence. So, but hopefully I answer your question.
Yeah. Yes. Everybody's journey into music pretty much most times starts with, their youth and the things that they've, been exposed to. And I can definitely hear in your music the influence of somebody who listened to vinyl. As a vinyl collector and an avid vinyl listener, I could definitely appreciate that in your music. And it's something that, hip hop as a whole has used many of these records that our parents and grandparents have had, and they sample them or whatever. But I noticed in the way that you use them, sometimes you give a little bit more. And I really, really like and appreciate that about your music. So your journey, I'm sure, has been a very interesting one. Now, let me ask, before you did this type of DJ work, did you work as a regular DJ?
So,
or what they would call a club DJ?
So honestly, I never was a club DJ. I was actually more of a basement hobby DJ. And actually, to kind of break down the other form of evolution, because again, I said there's different tiers, different levels of evolution in my musical progress, which led me to who I am now as Kamau. And so I started off, I wanted to, so really what happened was I used to listen to a bunch of lo-fi music. And I love the art of sampling, because I was listening to between that Dilla. I was listening to a lot of like the influences between that. And then me being a life path number one, I always want to always want to retrace back to the source, you know? So what I started to do was, I started to like, socialize within the artist networks, because I was still very heavily into like my visual artwork, because that's one thing a lot of people aren't aware of, is that I'm a visual artist as well. So I started to share like my mixes that I was doing, like small time starting off with like virtual DJ. That was where I didn't have my controller. I was just doing everything from my laptop. And then, what I love to do was I love to blend, and I love to play with like the lows, the highs, the frequencies. And, so I started sharing it with other artists, and they really found an appeal to what it is I was providing. And so I started to invite, these handful of artists that I would connect with to my home when I was in Delaware. And, that's actually where the birth of Hi-Fi Lounge came from. And, at the time I was sharing the house, and the individual I was sharing the home with, they were very good with like, replicating well-known vegan cuisines. And so my aim was really to like invite people or it actually adapted, I should say, to a level where I wanted to invite people, because I was on the path of like watching what I put in my body, as far as what I eat, what I visualize, and all of that, like trying to like just have an all around proper diet, with everything. And then, like I said, I just wanted to invite people, because it's always been my aim to just inspire people. And so, it went from there. And then the next thing you know, I was renting out like a small event space out in Germantown, Philly. And now you catch me hosting camping gatherings. So, yeah, it's just so many different levels, like I said, of like adaptations of provision and providing to others that is going through.
That is great, and your Hava Lounge in Germantown. I never got a chance to attend, but I always heard amazing things about the music and the food. I'm wondering, you were bringing this music out to a people, and many times they didn't know, they came not knowing really to what to expect. What kind of feedback did you get that inspired you to continue to explore this type of work?
Well, wow, that's a great question, Mom, because you actually taking me right back to memory lane. Because I mean, wow, it's literally like almost 5 years ago. So I remember the very first hive. Well, no, the first hive I had at my home, because the second one I was able to borrow someone's loft, and it was a good interaction. But the one at home, and I feel like that's where the whole spiritual, the magical essence comes into play, because it had my energy in there. Like my home is where I burn my sage, and I place my protection. And so I call for it, if anybody is to come to my home, that they be of the right balance, and doesn't throw the equilibrium off. So when they would come in, and if they were feeling offset because they had like a bad or just tremendous experience prior to, then yeah, like I've had feedback such as thank you for inviting me. Like I was in a whole another space, but coming here with the food and the music, like this is literally what was said. Like it really rectified everything for me. So then I gotten a lot of thanks to it. So that's why it's evolved to like with the High Soul Gathering now, which is a part of High Lounge, but it's outdoors. I just try to like bring our people, especially our people, to realize that this element that I'm inviting you to, like we naturally come from. We don't come from the hood, the ghettos. You know what I mean? That wasn't constructed for us. We were on farmland. We were tilling and sowing and harvesting. And, you know, if you just walk
Yes.
around with your shoes off, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
where I do it at out in Tabernacle, New Jersey, it's a beautiful area where my Empress and I, we identify it as the crossroad because, you know, and if anybody is familiar with the Yoruban pantheon, like we know that Eshu controls the crossroads. So like it definitely just, again, like I try to operate logically, but ultimately intuition always, especially divine intuition, always drives me.
Well, I wonder why, Virgo. But you know, I wonder why. I wonder why. You know, it's interesting you talked about the feedback you got because you know, I don't know if you remember this, but you remember you and I did an online virtual kind of sound experience with some people, and the feedback that I got was amazing. We had like I feel horrible. I can't remember the sister's name. She was doing the bowls for us.
Oh, and, yeah, my sister Tamara.
Right. And then there was another older sister too that was sitting on the floor in her home doing the bowls as well.
Yeah, the sister Doris, I believe.
Yes, but that was a great experience. I had never tried anything like that virtually. But I love to go to sound baths in person. I actually, one of my favorites are gongs. It is something about those gongs and laying on the floor and just feeling the vibration go through the floor, but the drums though. But your experience was something so different because while it implemented the crystal bowls and things like that, you did have some very familiar music there that kind of, blended with that and allowed the person to have almost like a reminiscent type, experience, whether it was music from their particular time period or not. It was just something very nostalgic about it. So I found that to be quite pleasant, and again, I came not really knowing what we were going to do in that space. I had heard your music before, but I didn't know how we were going to use that in a venue. And let me just say the feedback was amazing. Now, for everybody that is listening, all of his information will be in the description below. How you can contact him, how you can get him to do events for you. I want to talk about some of your consultations now, because I personally enjoyed the birth of our little baby and the part that music played at. So I'm excited for you to talk about some of those services as well. You and the Empress have that double team doula meta music thing going on. So I want to hear about that too. But for everybody, all of the information will be listed below, and you will be able to get a chance to reach out and talk to the brother and get what you need. And also check out some of his art. His art is crazy. I have t-shirts. Let you know. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. So tell us about the whole birthing meta music thing that you did.
So, well, if I can skip back to something you said too about the experience and like even like you sharing with me, how it affects you, me being your son and you being my mother, like it always captivates me here. And the thing to know is that I always like do all the, like I said, we have labels for all these energies that go on inside of us. Like, and I learned this specifically through your grandbaby, my little nutmeg, that like when I see her go from laughing to crying all in one spell, that is all just an energy. So like sometimes we can, I'm sad. no, maybe you're overwhelmed with something and you have to identify what that feeling is. So like that's the humbling experience for every session, that I have, whether it be a personal consultation or whether it be a group setting. And then like, I mean, the payment is always great. Like it helps keep the mouths fed at home. But it's always a reward to know that, just when I'm able to modulate that energy and rectify that energy to like be purposeful and get the reward of just someone's observation, or we can call it a compliment, that that's all the while like more refreshing. But yeah, to answer to go on about the Medi music mix sessions, as well as incorporated with my wife's doula services. So that in itself is a unique experience. When our baby girl was born or came into this world, I was actually playing a mix that I was inspired to create, which actually, without giving up all my business, having like a personal medicine, all natural medicine experience,
Right.
with good brothers of mine. I actually was able to reconnect with the feminine divine, and without going off too much on the tangent or throwing anyone off too much, realized that between myself and my brothers, as we shared a tent, that we were actually in the womb. And it just, yeah, it was interesting. I was able to actually really connect with my baby girl more. So like being able to play that and have our midwife, our doula, and even just to allow like for my empress to have like an easier birthing process, like that itself, like just, it's always so many different ways that music shows me its power. And yeah, like I said, I just ultimately inspire while challenging individuals to just really like look deep into that, like look deep into the effect of what music can do to you. And upon booking me, hiring me, consulting me, allowing me to just like go by my divine guidance of being able to accentuate that. So, but yeah, I want to make sure I definitely answered your question. You wanted to know more of as far as like the process of like what it is, or am I jumping ahead?
Oh, no, that was actually really, really great because, that experience for me was amazing as well. So, that's one of the reasons I had to bring it up, because the music I thought was such a nice touch. Because as a mom, as someone who's carried children in my womb, I can remember playing music, and all of my children love music. I mean, every one of them, hands down, love music. I read to them. They love books. So we know that this works. And so, I love the fact that you create soundtracks for expected mothers before and during and after. And I really think that's something really special that one can add to their little box of trinkets that they keep, every keepsake box that every mother has somewhere. That's a nice trinket to add to it, is the music that you listen to in the womb, the music you listen to being birthed into this reality, and the music that you listen to first, as an infant. So I think that's really nice. And, I'll take a little piece of that marketing money, just a tiny bit, but
Yeah, I got you, Bobby.
just a tiny bit. But you know what? I don't want to keep you long, but I have like two more questions for you. So my next question is, if someone is coming to you for a consult, so we know that you don't diagnose or you don't treat. Right. However, you mentioned that you were going through depression and things like that. So I can imagine that many of the people that come to you for consults can be going through some things that they may need something soothing to help them through. What does a consult with you look like? What do you interview them? Do you have a set of questions or something like that you use, or do you just go really by intuition after meeting the person?
Well, it's a combination of both. The first is I always have to put the disclaimer out, so I'll put it out here that what I do is not fast acting like Tinactin. So
Right.
I know I'm revealing my age with that one, but yeah, like, but it's not because, like, and that's the beauty of what music is about, like really good music, and because and I know you can relate to this because you've heard me countless times. Like I love to just like tell a story. I love to take you on a journey. So upon a consultation, normally what I do is I like for you, mommy. I already know. Like I could throw some wise intelligence up in there and put some earth, wind, and fire. You know what I mean? But then also, freak it out there with some tribal electronica or whatever, and toss in some Butcher Brown. But like for like say if I'm consulted or hired by a senior living home. Most times I will go off of the demographic. Like for some, like there's like a general consultation, and then there's like an in-depth consultation, because there's certain ways that you can communicate with certain people. You know what I mean? You have to like respect their, I guess, their religious background, spiritual background, however you want to identify it. So, I mean, I've had times where I would give my card out and they would see Chakra DJ and they think, oh, I can't, I'm a Christian. But it's like, but do you realize that Jesus actually is part of the chakra? That Jesus actually, when he talks about I am the way, I'm the light, he's actually telling you how to like balance your chakras. You know what I mean? Like, but a lot of people wouldn't identify that. They wouldn't identify the fact that, the Bible itself really tells you how to balance your chakras. It's not just telling you how to ultimately be a good person. Well, it is, but it's, everything in the Bible is code. So,
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, but I definitely, so that is where the intuition comes in. And sometimes you can tell that within the first couple of conversations with some folk. Now, if you were to get like the full on package, I guess I'll break it down as far as the full on package. I love to utilize anything that I use to make my guests comfortable. I don't care if we're at your home, if you're at my special space or place. I like to make my clients comfortable. So, like how you explained with the birth of our baby girl, like, I mean, I had the lighting, we already had the pool, but normally I'll use like a hammock if it's suitable for my client, or just something where they can like relax, because the session can, I mean, depending on how long they want the journey to be for, it can be between 15 to 30 minutes. And that's why I go back to the statement of it's not a quick release, a quick relief. So you have to be prepared to like release yourself of like everything that you're concerned of before and after, and the focus on the now. That's actually part of like my mini meditation that I do provide. And I take a little bit of elements of like of wisdom as far as knowing, like the placement of the planets as far as where we are at that moment, how it affects you and your chart. I also like to utilize, like, so say if it's an example of like where I identify that you may need more grounding. So I'm definitely going to like utilize more elements of instruments that have more bass, because I did study each instrument and how they affect each chakra. And like I mostly operate off of the heart chakra. So I'm always like providing 528 frequency, even if I start off or close off with it. But whatever it is that has to be like a moving force, I definitely use that frequency more. There's also frequencies that come from the planet that I incorporate. So it's really, it's like where we see colors that leads to seeing a car or a light pole or a park bench. I see frequency. I see, okay, frequency of the earth, this planet, this mindset, this herb, because I may even serve tea. You know, for those that are more, I guess, on the liberal side, pull up the
Adventurous.
smart one, So,
Adventurous side, yeah.
Get really in tune with nature if you like, so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know what? You kind of brought me to my last question and something I wanted to share with you. So, music and healing and all, I swear by it. I tell anybody, I will stand on music is healing.
Yeah.
Music is healing. Just like it can be destructive, it can be healing, right? And it has to do, like you said, everything being frequency and each organ having a frequency and, your blood having a frequency, all these different things. So healing is one of those things that I tell people, music, always the way. But this book right here, Vibrational Medicine, is one of the books that really made me start looking at, like you said, the frequency of things, understanding that, the table has a frequency, the wall has a frequency, and so do you, and all of the things around you, the food that you consume and the music that you listen to. Mm-hmm. So I was going to ask as your last question, is there any book or resource that you would recommend to someone who would like to begin their journey on learning about music and healing and frequencies?
Wow, there's so many. The first one that comes to mind, there's so many, but my favorite one, and I guess that's because I also go into the realm of production. Man, I don't know why I can't think of the name. I can remember his attributes. I believe. Ooh, it's like a big blue cover. It's like a big blue cover, and it has a picture of a brain, but it's like in different binary codes. What he does, he breaks down different like solfeggios, like the effects of solfeggio frequencies. He goes through the history of music itself, and that's what led me to, where I go when it comes to providing music, and even like why I like to do the whole playing the before and after of like a sample effect. What is it called? Like when we get done here, I'm going to be like, Mom, here it is.
Of course. Well, for everybody watching, I will get the name of that book from him, and we will put it in the description below with his bio and all of his contact information. I have had such a great time talking to you about music and healing, and for sure, I was just working with the sister. We were talking about crystals and gems in the Bible, and I said, when we have our comparative religion weekend, you have to be here, because talking about that Bible and that music and it's gonna be a thing. but what I tell people is, it's always in love. It's always in us really just refining ourselves. It's not to prove anyone right or wrong. It's for us to grow. You know what I mean? So I thank you for coming here to the Healing Chambers and sharing with us your experience with music. You offering us, a little deeper look into what it is you do and how we can use your services to heal ourselves and to it just really, if anything, balance ourselves out. Because if we're going to listen to music anyway, it might as well be something that can heal. So for all of you, please, like I said, get his information at the bottom. You can always reach out to us to ask any questions at mawalisatemple@gmail.com. on the DMs and Instagram at Mawalisa Temple 1. So please get those questions into us, because as you know, next week is the recap for the month. We are moving into a new season, Cancer season, communication season is over. So we are done here, people. But anyway, I look forward to seeing you next week on the Healing Chambers. Brother Kamau The Chakra DJ, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time and sharing your wisdom about music and healing, communication, the great communicator, music. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mother.